12 bizarre archaeological discoveries around the world that even top scientists find shocking. Hello, welcome to the latest video on the Ancient History channel. Dear friends, have you ever wondered how many secrets are still sleeping beneath the Earth's vast surface, buried under layers of soil and rock for thousands of years? Every time humans dig deep into the ground, it seems to awaken a strange fragment of the past, things that both astonish us and send chills down our spine. From skeletal remains that seem as if they just recently rested, to ancient structures that have withstood the test of time, all of these challenge every rule we thought we knew. How did people in the past manage to preserve bodies without modern technology? Who were the true owners of the mysterious tombs hidden deep in deserts or beneath the oceans? And could there be a mysterious force behind these discoveries, something that modern humans have yet to understand? The more we explore, the more we realize that the past is far from silent. Beneath every layer of sand, every shattered ruin, lie stories so shocking that even the most seasoned archaeologists cannot help but shiver in awe. So, in today's video, join me as we embark on a journey back in time to witness firsthand the 12 strangest archaeological discoveries on Earth, where the line between science and mystery becomes thinner than ever. Are you ready? If so, let's begin our journey with the very first discovery. Guanajuato Mummy Museum, where restless souls linger in the heart of Mexico. If there's one place in the world that can make your hair stand on end while filling you with curiosity so strong that you just have to see it for yourself, it's undoubtedly the Guanajuato Mummy Museum in Mexico. This isn't your typical museum filled with statues or paintings. It's a place that displays real human bodies, naturally preserved for hundreds of years. Just stepping through its icy glass doors, you feel as if you've entered the realm of the dead, a place where time has stopped and people remain, only no longer breathing. Behind the fragile glass cases are hundreds of mummies, dried and yellowed like old parchment. Some still have hair, beards, and even fingernails intact, proof of nature's strange preservation. What's particularly eerie is that most of them share a common expression: mouths open, faces twisted, as if frozen in a scream of ultimate terror. But don't assume they died in agony. According to Jesus Saltillo, a longtime guide at the museum, these expressions result from jaw muscle contraction after death, not a horrific demise. The origin of these mysterious mummies comes from the Panteón de Santa Paula, a cemetery not far from the museum. Here, bodies were not buried in the ground in the usual way, but placed in sealed tombs with no oxygen, which dramatically slowed decomposition. The dryness inadvertently turned the corpses into naturally preserved mummies that have lasted for decades. What chills people even more is how the museum acquires its mummies. According to local regulations, once a family's plot lease expires, about 20 years, they must pay roughly £95 to renew it. If they cannot pay, the bodies of their relatives are exhumed and sent to the museum for inspection. If the corpse is sufficiently dry and remarkable, it is selected for display. If not, it is moved to a mass grave on the outskirts of town. A cold, stark cycle of life and death continues in this way. Among the hundreds of mummies here, Remigio Leroy is the most famous. A French doctor who died while traveling in Guanajuato in the 19th century, his body was exhumed in 1865, astonishingly well preserved, with clothes still seemingly fresh. Local curiosity quickly turned into a sensation, prompting the government to establish the Guanajuato Mummy Museum in 1950, marking the beginning of one of the most chilling museums in the world. Not only adults are preserved here, some of the world's smallest mummies are on display. One is a 4-month-old fetus who died alongside its mother during a cholera outbreak in 1860. When found, the fetus remained in the mother's womb, like a moment frozen between life and death. Another touching mummy is baby Enrico, who passed away at 6 months old in 1999. When his plot lease expired, his body was moved to the museum, still dressed in a costume representing Saint Bartholomew, reflecting the tradition of praying for a child's peaceful passage to the afterlife. Entering the infant room, where tiny souls like the unnamed Little Saint Martin rest, one can feel the lingering sadness in every gaze. Parents had dressed their children in priestly outfits, placing a broom and rosary in their hands, hoping their children would find peace in the next world. The museum also displays numerous naked mummies with yellowed, dried skin, sunken eyes, and gaping faces, resembling zombies straight out of a Hollywood horror film. Yet despite the eeriness, the the place exerts a strange allure. Perhaps it's because in that space, people don't just see death. They see stories of human life, the passage of time, and the immortality of memory. So, would you dare to step into Guanajuato, look into the eyes of these mummies and wonder, are they looking at me or have I wandered into their world? As for me, honestly, I wouldn't dare. Just seeing the photos and videos alone gives me chills. The Cedar Tomb in China, a nightmare that even grave robbers fear. Have you ever heard of a tomb so impenetrable that even professional grave robbers break into a cold sweat just approaching it? In China, such a tomb exists. It's known as the Cedar Tomb, famously dubbed the Nightmare of Grave Robbers. Hidden underground for thousands of years, it still earns the admiration of archaeologists worldwide. The story begins in 1974, when the Beijing city government was carrying out construction in Fengtai district. While digging foundations, workers discovered an unusually hollow section of earth. Curious, they dug deeper and were stunned to uncover a massive wooden chamber buried underground. Archaeologists were immediately called in. Upon excavation, they identified it as the burial chamber of Prince Liu Jian, who lived during the Han Dynasty. The chamber was built with extraordinary precision, 49 feet long, 33 feet wide, and 10 feet high, with walls nearly 6 feet thick. Every piece was made from solid cedar wood, meticulously stacked in perfect layers. Simply the quantity of wood is astonishing. Over 15,000 beams, each weighing hundreds of pounds, hand-carved and joined with millimeter precision. It is this special material that gave the tomb its name, the Cedar Tomb. Cedar wood is extremely rare in China and considered wood of the gods. Its core contains natural oils, making it resistant to decay, warping, and insect damage, even after millennia underground. Remarkably, it emits a faint sweet aroma, reminiscent of incense, giving the tomb a sacred, eerie atmosphere. Because of its durability and spiritual significance, the ancients believed that burying someone in cedar ensured their soul's eternal preservation. But the cost of constructing such a tomb was immense. To this day, archaeologists have discovered only 10 cedar tombs across China, each a subterranean masterpiece hiding secrets yet to be fully understood. Now you understand why it's called the Nightmare of Grave Robbers. The tomb structure is so complex and sturdy that even experienced looters cannot breach the first wall. Each cedar beam weighs nearly 660 pounds, fitted tightly using intricate wood joinery techniques. Over thousands of years, the weight of the soil and the precision of the joints have made the entire structure as solid as a colossal stone. The only way inside is to remove each beam, but that's easier said than done. A single misstep could cause the chamber to collapse or jam, potentially burying the intruder alive. Legend has it that cedar tombs often have 3 to 4 layers of wooden walls, each following the next like a labyrinth of protection. Breaking through one wall only reveals another, thicker and more secure. Truly, it is a harsh test of greed and patience for anyone daring enough to try. In ancient China, building a tomb was not merely about burial. It was about protecting the soul and the authority of the ruler. They believed that when the body rested in a chamber encased in cedar, the wood of the gods, the soul would remain undisturbed, untainted, and eternal. Even today, standing before an excavated cedar tomb, researchers are astounded by the craftsmanship and engineering foresight of ancient builders. Every piece of wood, every joint, was executed with meticulous perfection. For those who once dreamed of plundering such a tomb, merely hearing the words cedar wood is enough to send shivers down their spine. So, the Cedar Tomb is not only the final resting place of Prince Liu Jian, it is also a timeless warning from history about human greed. Some secrets buried deep in the earth are not meant for everyone to reach. 3,000-year-old teen skeleton discovered in the Orkney Islands, Scotland. Amid the rugged scenery, with sea winds whispering across the golden sands of the Orkney Islands, Scotland, home to some of Europe's oldest known civilizations, an unexpected discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. It wasn't a massive stone monument or glittering artifacts, but a nearly intact skeleton of a teenager who had lain beneath the sand for over 3,000 years. Imagine strolling along the beach, listening to the gentle crash of waves, when suddenly a few pale ribs emerge from the sand beneath your feet. That moment would surely make anyone's heart skip a beat. And that's exactly what happened to Carrie Brown and Allie Thorne. two British tour guides, not long ago. While leading a tour on an Orkney beach, they noticed three small ribs peeking through the sand. At first, they thought it might be animal bones, but upon closer inspection, their instincts told them they were looking at something extraordinary. They immediately contacted the local archaeological authorities. In a short time, a team of experts and archaeologists arrived, secured the site, and began excavation. As the sand layers were carefully removed, a nearly complete human skeleton gradually emerged, lying on its side as if in a peaceful sleep, marking one of the rarest archaeological discoveries in the region in decades. Preliminary analysis revealed the skeleton belonged to a teenager between 10 and 12 years old, buried approximately 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, during the Bronze Age. Despite millennia passing, the skeleton had retained a near-complete shape, something scientists described as miraculous. Many questions immediately arose. Why hadn't the bones decayed, despite being buried directly under coastal sand, constantly exposed to wind, water, and harsh weather? Did the unique environmental conditions of Orkney help preserve the remains, or did recent storms inadvertently reveal a secret hidden for thousands of years? While these questions remain unanswered, it's important to note that the Orkney Islands have long been renowned as the cradle of Northern European prehistoric civilization, boasting sites like Skara Brae and the Brodgar Stone Circle, often called the Stonehenge of Scotland. The discovery of this skeleton is more than just uncovering an ancient body. It's a precious piece of the puzzle that helps reconstruct the life, customs, and beliefs of people who lived here thousands of years ago. Another intriguing detail that caught the attention of archaeologists was the burial position. The teenager lay on their side with legs bent. Experts suggest this may have been a ritualistic burial, symbolizing a return to Mother Earth or rebirth in another world. The teen's gender, however, remains unknown due to insufficient data, adding further mystery and fascination to the find. Carrie Brown, the first to spot the skeleton, said, "We couldn't believe our eyes. Just a gust of wind, a shift in the sand, and history seemed to open its eyes at us." Indeed, each archaeological discovery like this deepens our understanding of the past while reminding modern humans of how small we are in the face of time. Every bone, every grain of sand carries a story of a lost era. Perhaps a child who once laughed on the beach, now transformed into a silent memory beneath the earth. Today, the skeleton is being carefully preserved by scientists for further study. While we may never know exactly who this boy or girl was or which tribe they belonged to, this discovery has awakened a fragment of the 3,000-year-old past, not by human hands, but by nature itself. Fascinating, isn't it? 32. Fully intact mummies, buried deep in Egypt. Did you know? It might seem that the mysteries of ancient Egypt have gradually closed with time, yet right in the sun-scorched deserts of Middle Egypt, a door to the past has just been opened, and what lies inside has truly astonished the world. Here's the story. At a depth of 26 feet below the ground in Minya Governorate, about 155 miles south of Cairo, archaeologists have excavated an ancient tomb containing at least 17 fully intact mummies. Initial estimates suggest that the total number of mummies could reach 32, including women, children, and even infants. So, what awaits us in that cold tomb? Who were the people buried there? Why was the cemetery placed so deep underground, hidden from human eyes for millennia? And could it have been the tomb of nobles or even pharaohs? The surprising answer is that this was a tomb for ordinary people, not kings or queens. And that makes it even more valuable. Most of the landmark discoveries in Egypt's archaeological history focus on the royal class, but the lives of ordinary people, their daily existence, their deaths, and the rituals they followed have long been a significant gap in our understanding of this brilliant civilization. This discovery is considered one of the largest tomb excavations for common people ever found, offering a rare opportunity to gain deeper insight into the daily life and beliefs of ancient Egyptians during lesser documented periods. The next pressing question is, from which era do these mummies come? Although their exact dating is still uncertain, Professor Muhammad Hamza, head of the archaeology department at Cairo University, suggests they may date to the period when Egypt was under Greek rule, after 332 BCE, when Alexander the Great conquered the land. That means these mummies have survived for over 2,000 years and remain astonishingly well preserved. Can you imagine it? People who once lived, breathed, and dreamed along the Nile now lie motionless beneath the earth, encased in clay and limestone coffins, neatly arranged in ancient tombs among faded manuscripts and even animal coffins, possibly cats, falcons, or other sacred creatures in Egyptian belief. And this is just the beginning of the excavation. Much more remains to be uncovered. Egypt's Minister of Antiquities, Khalid al-Inani, described the recent discoveries as a message from our ancestors, as if the people of the past are guiding us to find them, understand them, and restore Egypt to its former glory, not just in history, but also on the global tourism map. Indeed, Egypt's tourism industry was once the jewel of the Middle East, reaching 14.7 million international visitors in 2010. But after the 2011 uprising, tourism sharply declined, leaving the once crowded pyramids eerily empty. Today, new archaeological discoveries, from the statue of Pharaoh Ramses II in Heliopolis to a recently identified princess's tomb, and especially this collective mummy tomb in Minya, are helping reignite the world's passion for ancient Egypt, rekindling fascination with the mystical land that was the cradle of one of humanity's greatest civilizations. Do you feel a chill imagining the inside of that tomb? Dry skulls stacked atop one another, mummies lined up in rows, heads turned to one side as if waiting for something. A resurrection, or at least a gaze from future generations. These images are haunting and deeply thought-provoking, forcing us to reflect on how humans perceive life and death. The ancient Egyptians believed in life after death, that the soul would continue its journey in another world. They left behind everything, from mummies and texts to statues of gods and marks of devotion, like a living library buried underground, just waiting for us to uncover it. And now, as centuries of dust are slowly cleared away, light is finally beginning to illuminate the dark corners of history. 2,500-year-old princess mummy with modern-style tattoos discovered in Siberia. In 1993, archaeologists discovered the remarkably well-preserved mummy of a 2,500-year-old woman in the icy highlands of the Ukok Plateau in Siberia, Russia. The body had been protected by permafrost and had never been disturbed by grave robbers. Archaeologists noted that the tomb was unusually complete and pristine, leaving them astonished at the preservation of the remains. So much so that the surrounding ice had not melted since it froze thousands of years ago. The discovery immediately captured the attention of researchers and the global public. The woman came to be known as the Ukok Princess, or the Ice Maiden, becoming one of the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century. Based on dating and cultural evidence, experts concluded that she belonged to the Pazyryk culture, an ancient civilization notable in Siberia. Evidence includes her intricate tattoos, a hallmark of Pazyryk culture reflecting the unique aesthetic of the time. However, what made this tomb especially remarkable was not only the mummy itself, but also the burial context. She was buried alongside 6 horses, which was extremely rare for women in that society. At the time, only individuals with special social roles, such as shamans or spiritual leaders, were buried with horses to accompany them into the afterlife. Consequently, one of the most compelling hypotheses is that she may have been a shaman. This theory is supported by chemical tests that revealed traces of mercury and copper in her nasal cavity. It is believed she may have inhaled these substances to expand her consciousness and enter a trance-like state as part of spiritual rituals. Medical analysis also showed that the Ukok princess was tall for her time, standing approximately 5 feet 5 inches to 5 feet 7 inches, but she suffered from serious health problems toward the end of her life. She had advanced stage breast cancer, which likely explains her frailty and physical deterioration before death. Despite her illness, she was not abandoned but accompanied by her family during migrations across the Ukok Plateau's grazing lands. Remarkably, archaeologists also found cannabis in her tomb, which may have been used to alleviate pain from cancer and injuries. While her exact identity remains unknown, the mummy has become a symbol of the ancient Pazyryk culture, offering invaluable insights into their daily life, beliefs, and art. After being displayed for over 20 years at the Novosibirsk Archaeological and Ethnographic Museum, the mummy was transferred in 2012 to the Gorno-Altaysk National Museum, where the public can continue to marvel at and learn about this mysterious woman. If you ever have the chance, visiting the museum to see the Ukok princess in person is an unforgettable experience. The 3,000-year-old tomb of a priest from Pacoampati, Peru. Have you ever imagined that, amid the arid highlands of northern Peru, there exists a tomb that makes you both marvel and shrug in disbelief at the mysteries it holds? Recently, archaeologists excavated such an ancient tomb, dating back roughly 3,000 years. What stunned them wasn't just its age, but the unique burial style of the person interred. The remains have been named the Paco priest, after the highland region where the tomb was discovered. Right from the first layer of excavation, it was clear that this was no ordinary individual. He was buried beneath 6 layers of ash mixed with dark soil, surrounded by exquisitely decorated ceramic bowls, and adorned with ritualistic symbolic seals on his body. In other words, by modern standards, he could be called an ancient VIP, receiving rights reserved only for the top echelons of society. Yet what puzzled and intrigued archaeologists the most were 2 special seals along the top edge of the tomb. One bore a human face facing east, while the other depicted a jaguar facing west. Were the ancients trying to send a message like, "East to wake up, west to dine"? Of course, that's just a playful thought, but the arrangement was definitely intentional, likely holding ritualistic or spiritual significance that may take years to fully decode. Archaeologist Yuji Seki, head of the project, explained that the tomb itself is exceptionally large, measuring nearly 6.5 feet in diameter and about 3.3 feet deep. But it wasn't just the size that caught the team's attention. The burial posture demanded careful psychological analysis. The body was laid face down, with feet crossed, an extremely unusual position compared to most other burials in the region. It almost seems as if the Paco priest wanted to say, "I will lie here comfortably, but my authority remains intact." The story's climax, however, is the tupu, a large pin used to fasten cloaks in Andean culture. Normally, the tupu is a female accessory, yet the tomb held a male individual. This proves he was not only an ancient VIP, but also a fashion icon of his era, breaking all conventional rules of clothing and status. If he lived today, he would likely be setting trends thousands of years ahead of his time. Overall, from the 6 layers of ash, the ceramic bowls, the symbolic seals, to the tupu, the tomb tells a story of power, belief, and ancient fashion. This isn't just a burial site, it's a living museum, where every detail raises the question, who was this priest, and what was he thinking when planning his burial rituals? Imagine if the Paco priest lived in the 21st century. Would he become a powerful religious leader, or a style influencer with millions of followers? The answer may still lie buried among the layers of ash, but one thing is certain. This tomb will leave anyone interested in history, culture, or ancient fashion absolutely awestruck. Airplane wreckage and human remains revealed by melting ice solve a 50-year mystery. You probably already know that Switzerland is famous for its snow-covered mountains, majestic glaciers, and stunning ski resorts. Among them, the Chesgen Glacier in Valais, in the southern part of the country, has long attracted visitors eager to explore its icy expanse. But you might be surprised to learn that this glacier holds a mystery that had been asleep for nearly 50 years. The story began when 2 French tourists decided to adventure through the Chesgen Glacier area. While admiring the scenery, they unexpectedly discovered the remains of 2 people along with an airplane wreck buried under the thick ice. You can imagine how they must have felt. Equal parts terrified and curious, caught between screaming in shock or taking a selfie with a half-century-old mystery. Once the discovery was reported, Dario Andin-Matten, manager of the nearby Britannia hut, quickly took action. Based on the condition of the skeletons, he estimated that the victims may have perished sometime between the 1970s and 1980s. That means they had lain quietly beneath the ice for almost half a century, silently witnessing the changes around them until the glacier melted and revealed their secret to the world. Interestingly, the location of the remains was far from random. According to Dario, they were found near an old path that had been out of use for about 10 years. One could say that nature and time had carefully concealed them, like a frozen museum guarding a secret that no one was allowed to know. This, however, wasn't the first time Switzerland's glaciers revealed a hidden story. Previously, another set of human remains was discovered on a glacier near the Zermatt ski resort, right at the foot of the Matterhorn, a spot well known to skiing enthusiasts. Immediately after the discovery, the skeletons and airplane wreckage were removed from the glacier to ensure safety and facilitate investigation. The Swiss police conducted DNA analysis, a process taking several days, to identify the victims. This work not only solved a decades-old mystery, but also restored the identities of people who had been forgotten, trapped in ice for half a century. The story evokes both shivers and amusement in the sense of, the ice melts and history rises up, seemingly saying, "Don't think I've been sleeping, unaware, folks." More importantly, it serves as a reminder that nature always holds the reins. When glaciers melt, they not only reveal breathtaking landscapes, but sometimes uncover mysteries, forcing humanity to confront the past unexpectedly. So, if one day you explore the Chestgen Glacier and see shadows of the past emerging, what would you do? Panic, get curious, or take a selfie with a 50-year-old mystery? Whichever you choose, that feeling is guaranteed to be unforgettable. Mysterious mummies reveal secrets that even geniuses can't solve. It might sound like something out of a movie, but in 2014, along the Nile River in northern Sudan, archaeologists were stunned to uncover a very unusual mummy. What made it extraordinary wasn't its age or clothing, but a tattoo on the mummy's thigh. And this wasn't a floral design or a series of cryptic symbols. Upon careful examination, experts discovered that the tattoo was written in ancient Greek, and when transliterated, it read, Michael. At this point, anyone would ask, how could a mummy in Sudan, over 1,300 years old, have a name in Greek? Archaeologists at the British Museum believe this was not just decorative. The tattoo likely had a religious purpose, intended to protect the deceased's soul on its journey to the afterlife. Placed within the context of ancient culture, where spirituality and safeguarding the soul were central to burial rituals, this raises intriguing questions. Was Michael a cultural bridge between civilizations, or simply a local religious symbol? The answer remains unknown, inviting us to ponder the mysterious connections between ancient cultures. But the mysteries don't stop there. Travel back to 1915 in Egypt, when archaeologists excavated a looted tomb at Deir el-Bersha and found a mummified head without a body, dating back 4,000 years. It sounds like a scene from a horror film, but it wasn't until 2018, with the help of the FBI and DNA analysis from the mummy's teeth, that the head was finally identified as belonging to Jehutinakht, an ancient Egyptian governor. Before the DNA results, numerous theories circulated, leaving modern observers amazed at the mummification methods and burial rituals of ancient Egyptians. Mummies aren't just for adults, they can involve children too. In Nyarlathotep, Hungary, archaeologists discovered the ribs, shoulders, and arm of a mummified child, still holding a corroded coin in its hand within an ancient tomb. The burial dates back to the 12th to 16th centuries, and the method was unusual. The body was placed inside a jar with a coin, reflecting the belief that the money would help the soul in the afterlife. Dr. Janos Balaz noted that the child was either premature or died shortly after birth, standing about 11 to 13 inches tall and weighing only 1 to 2 pounds. Moreover, this mummy had the highest copper content ever found in a mummified body, opening a new avenue for research on ancient embalming techniques. Looking at all three cases, we see that mummies are far more than dried remains. They are living stories, carrying beliefs, faith, and mysteries that transcend time. From the Greek tattoo in Sudan, to the Egyptian governor's severed head, to the Hungarian child clutching a coin, each discovery is like a puzzle that challenges even geniuses, forcing us to ask, what did ancient people think, believe, and desire? So next time you hear about a mummy, don't just picture a cold museum display. Think of mummies as historical witnesses, telling stories and stretching your imagination, turning every archaeological discovery into an unforgettable adventure. The 36,000-year-old bison mummy that tells a story of the Ice Age. In the late 1890s, while all of North America was swept up in the Klondike Gold Rush, hundreds of thousands of people flocked to Alaska and northwestern Canada hoping to strike it rich. Some were lucky and found gold, while many others went home empty-handed. But few could have imagined that, amid the gold frenzy, a discovery of monumental significance, completely unrelated to gold, was about to be made. The Rumans family, like countless other gold seekers, stumbled upon the naturally preserved mummified remains of a giant bison near Fairbanks, Alaska. They named it Blue Babe, inspired by the legendary Babe the Blue Ox of lumberjack folklore about Paul Bunyan. At first, the Rumans didn't know what to do with this icebound monster, so they immediately contacted archaeology professor Dale Guthrie from the University of Alaska. But as you might guess, Excavating a heavily frozen mummy isn't a task completed overnight. It took 3 years for the research team to carefully remove the layers of ice and bring Blue Babe out of the ground. Once freed, they realized they were looking at one of the most perfectly preserved specimens of bison ever found. Using radiocarbon dating, scientists determined that the bison had died 36,000 years ago. Its neck and back bore multiple horrifying wounds, likely inflicted by an American lion, a species that went extinct during the Ice Age. It seems the bison managed to escape the lion's attack, but eventually succumbed to the harsh winter, with its body preserved by layers of ice for tens of thousands of years until it was excavated in 1979. Blue Babe belonged to the species Bison priscus, a type of steppe bison that roamed Europe, Central Asia, and North America at the end of the Ice Age. Its size was massive, rivaling mammoths, lions, and saber-toothed tigers. Although Bison priscus went extinct about 8,000 years ago, its relatives survive today, such as bison, which are still large but smaller than Blue Babe, standing about 9 feet tall and weighing over 1,300 pounds. When Blue Babe was first removed from the ice, the team noticed signs of decay. Concerned that this priceless specimen would not survive for further research, they decided to separate the meat, blood, and marrow to preserve the remaining bones permanently at the Alaska Museum of the North. With the help of taxidermy expert Erik Granqvist from the University of Helsinki, Finland, Blue Babe was successfully preserved and put on display in 1984, standing proudly at the museum. The most amusing part of the story came from a playful idea by the research team. They kept some of Blue Babe's frozen meat to cook and try. Can you guess what happened? It was edible. Dale Guthrie even shared, "The meat was tough but fine to eat, still tasted like normal beef. No one got sick or felt nauseous." Imagine that, eating a bison over 36,000 years old. It's like stepping into a time travel adventure. Today, Blue Babe still stands there, majestically telling the story of the Ice Age, of American lions, and of a giant bison, reminding us that in the pursuit of history, treasures aren't always gold. They can be extinct creatures preserved under ice. If you're curious to see what this 36,000-year-old bison looked like, you can visit the Museum of the North at the University of Alaska to see it in person. The 1,800-year-old blood curse on an ancient tomb in Israel. In 2023, in the historic desert of Beit She'arim, Israel, archaeologists accidentally discovered an extremely mysterious ancient tomb inside a small cave deep within the old cemetery. This small cave was actually a side chamber of a larger cave, known since 2022, but it wasn't explored until a year later. Truly a modern-day Indiana Jones-style adventure. What left everyone stunned was a bright red inscription, as if written in blood, carved into the tomb wall, a rare and chilling sight. Experts say the inscription appears to be a real curse, warning anyone who dares to open the tomb. Yaakov Hager curses anyone who opens this tomb, so no one shall open it for 60 years. The number 60 was written in a different alphabet, possibly marking the age of the deceased. Fortunately, the red lettering was not blood but red ink, yet it still sends shivers down the spine. Remarkably, this is one of only 2 inscriptions discovered at Beit She'arim in the past 65 years, and it is the only one that identifies a person who converted to another religion. Archaeologists estimate the tomb is roughly 1,800 years old, dating from the late Roman Empire to the early Byzantine period, a time when Christianity was spreading rapidly, but some people were still converting to Judaism. From the inscription, researchers identified Yaakov Hager as the tomb's owner, a man who had fully converted to Judaism. Interestingly, the word proselyte was carved in Greek, directly above the tomb, signifying a religious convert. This highlights not only the cultural and religious interactions of the time, but also sheds light on the spiritual life of the Jews and their communities. Some Jewish groups feared God, but did not follow all traditional commandments, while others, like Yaakov Hager, fully embraced a new religious path. Beit She'arim was not an ordinary cemetery. It was an international burial site, where Jews from across the eastern regions were brought to rest. However, the remains of Yaakov Hager have not yet been found, possibly looted by tomb raiders. If the curse were real, those intruders might have reason to regret their actions. Another point of fascination for archaeologists is the location of the tombstone in this newly discovered side chamber, a spot previously unknown. It stands as an 1,800-year-old hidden mystery, showcasing not only the craftsmanship of the burial, but also the respect and fear the ancients held for death and the soul. Every time people look at the glowing red inscription, it's easy to imagine curious and daring intruders entering the cave, hearing the wind whistling through the rocks and wondering if the curse still holds. This is far more than a standard archaeological discovery. It is a story of religion, belief, and the haunting power of history. For anyone curious about the secrets of Israel's ancient tombs, this is a vivid reminder that the past can be more chilling and mysterious than any horror movie. A blazing red warning, a religious convert, and a tomb that has never been opened all come together to create a story that makes anyone interested in archaeology pause and reflect. The giant treasure in the Bottomless cave in China. In 1983, a construction crew in Guangzhou, China, unexpectedly discovered a bottomless cave while working on Xianggang Mountain. The workers on site, seeing the huge dark cave, dared not enter and immediately alerted the local archaeological team. Before beginning construction in the Xianggang Mountain area, the crew had already researched the mountain extensively. According to local lore, the area was rumored to have been a military fortress during wartime and was also said to hide rare and ancient treasures of China. During the imperial era, many generals chose Xianggang Mountain as the site for their tombs, believing it would protect the prosperity of their families for generations. Therefore, the construction team had anticipated that interesting discoveries might be made in the area. However, finding a huge bottomless cave still surprised everyone. Those present were filled with curiosity, constantly speculating about the cave. Some believed that it could be a treasure trove left by ancient people, where even a random object inside might be worth a fortune. Yet, because the cave was so vast and dark, no one dared to venture deep inside. Everyone stayed outside, waiting for the contractor to notify the nearby archaeological team. After securing the site and conducting a preliminary survey of the bottomless cave, the archaeologists realized that it resembled a tomb of exceptional value. The news quickly spread, and everyone at the site became excited, knowing that if it really was an ancient tomb, the cave would have immense archaeological significance. To properly excavate the tomb, the archaeologists requested additional staff and professional tools from their superiors. Soon, the large tomb emerged, revealing a spacious interior. Because it had existed for so long, some walls inside were crumbling, but based on the inscriptions, researchers compared them with ancient texts and concluded that the writing was similar to Western Han Dynasty script. At this point, the archaeological team split into two groups. One group continued excavation, while the other consulted historical records. After several days of work, the entire tomb was fully uncovered. Not only was it large in scale, but the items inside were of exceptionally high quality. Among the discoveries were a giant bronze tripod cauldron, a massive bronze screen, and numerous valuable treasures. Clearly, the tomb had never been disturbed by thieves and was very well preserved, which thrilled the archaeologists. In addition to the tripod and bronze screen, the team also found weapons and armor, swords, firearms, spears, intricately gold-gilded armor, and a chariot placed at the center of the tomb. However, based on these artifacts alone, the archaeologists could not yet identify the tomb's owner. It wasn't until they discovered a square gold seal among the buried items that the owner's identity became clear. The seal bore the inscription, "Seal of Emperor Wen," proving that it belonged to Emperor Wen, the title of King Zhao Hu, the second ruler of Nanyue and the son of Zhao Tuo, the kingdom's first king. In summary, this discovery greatly excited China's archaeological community. The fact that so many cultural relics could be preserved intact, without being looted or destroyed, is highly significant. It serves as tangible evidence of the cultural heritage of the region, evidence of the lives of ancient peoples. 900-year-old princess mummy, found in the Arctic ice. A stunning archaeological discovery has just been announced at the Zeleny Yar burial site near Salakard, a remote area close to the Arctic Circle. Russian scientists have uncovered the mummy of an adult princess, preserved almost perfectly after being buried for over 900 years beneath permafrost. What makes this discovery particularly remarkable is that the princess is the only female in the cemetery, surrounded by more than 30 male graves. Her mummy was placed in a bronze coffin lined with animal hides, and her head is astonishingly well preserved, with teeth, hair, and eyelids still intact. This is the only female mummy found in a cemetery primarily designated for men, leaving archaeologists both intrigued and puzzled. Although her body is not as well preserved as her head, the level of preservation still provides valuable insights into the life of people in the past. Scientists estimate that the princess lived in the 12th century, during a hunting and fishing civilization in the Arctic. Interestingly, despite being buried in this frigid region, the princess shows connections to the ancient Persian civilization, evidenced by artifacts such as a Persian bronze bowl found at the burial site. Archaeologist Alexander Gusev, from the Russian Arctic Research Center, stated that the team immediately recognized the mummy as female, which completely changed their understanding of the cemetery. Previously, they believed only men were buried here, but now they have confirmed the presence of a woman. The high level of preservation is remarkable, with internal organs still intact, making this an outstanding discovery for their research. This find not only challenges previous assumptions about the Zeleny Yar cemetery, but also raises new questions about ancient Arctic societies where historical mysteries continue to captivate modern researchers. Dear friends, this brings our journey exploring the mystery of the 900-year-old mummy to a close for today. Which of the discoveries we've covered impressed you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to give ancient history a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any other fascinating discoveries. For now, goodbye and see you next time.